Many moons ago, I made this, but since then, a lot's happened. Like, you know, a CG Dragon Ball film that had people doing backflips, another character designer stepping in, even Shintani's style seems to have changed a little bit, and although it may be another century before Super comes back, there is still the future movies and the Dragon Ball web series, and so the question comes up once again, what should the approach be to the visuals? Should they go in the direction character designer Chikashi Kubota seems to be pushing for? Bulky characters, sharp features with the classic style of shading, definitely a Buark inspired approach he even brought to his portion in Super Broly, or now Hiro Shintani's much looser and simplified designs that take stylistic points from earlier days like the Namek arc. Hey, how about something in between like Shintani's promo art from 2020 and 2021? Or how about a complete 360 with a style like Yoshimichi Kamada's designs for Mob Psycho, with rough brushstrokes and hatching, somewhat similar to the older days of the series? Well, this time I will make the separation of what I would like and what would actually be the best option to avoid my nostalgia bias. Now, I don't want to submit myself to the Turtle Beach headset audio of the original video, but the summary of that one was something about if they went direction the Buark, me happy, and that I would like grittiness to the visuals. And while I love Kubota's style and the designs of the Buark era, that very defined and detailed look, he definitely ticks that box. Would they be good designs from an animation standpoint? No. There's a reason a lot, not all, but a lot of Dragon Ball Z's action boiled down to loop punches, loop kicks, and loop key attacks, and then reuse those cuts again and again. Now, of course, its TV anime deadlines are always very tight, so that doesn't help. But if you look at some of the best action animation of just the 90s with really detailed choreography, lively and loose movement, a lot of it usually involved very simplified designs with little shadow and few lines. Even if you look at the original Dragon Ball series, which had simple designs, one of the best animated action scenes on it, arguably the most animated fight out of all three original series, Goku vs Krillin, matches that description. Simple art, no shading at all, there's not a million pant creases. Or Goku vs Chi-Chi, you can see that the cuts that involve less drawings, there's several tones of shading, but when the camera zooms out and the complexity of the movement increases from just a head zipping back and forth, the animator, now Toshishida, is also having to draw the entire body now, much more difficult. So he completely strips the detail away. Now, I will say before the "that's why Dragon Ball's animation was better than Z" comments roll in, those two clips I showed were not the standard. I don't know why everyone on Twitter acts like it was. We didn't get that on a weekly basis. There was still plenty of looping like Z and stuff going on and reused animation. Like the final fight between Roshi and Goku, the animator AOSHIMA reuses this cut and many others like about 4 times in the span of a minute. Time constraints were a very real thing, and well, some animators just animated in a stiff way regardless. But the point is that simplification in designs to achieve better and more detailed movement isn't anything new. And this isn't just my words. Let's take those of a fan favorite Dragon Ball animator, Masaki Awane, behind the best cuts of action animation in Z, and also was the key animator behind Cell's death, so, you know, has a bit of clout. He said, quote, "The simple characters are easier to animate and you're therefore able to use more drawings per character. From a purely drawing point of view, there is that part of us that's happy when we're given the more simple characters to draw. But Pokemon with words like Mega..." You get the picture. Ironically enough, Z's detailed character designs actually turned Awane off from wanting to work on the show, and only did end up on Z because his co-worker Keisuke Masunaga lied to him and was like, "Hey, it's all cool, you don't have to draw the two-tone shading." And then when Awane submitted his work for revision, he told him to add a lot of two-tone shading. This also brings us to the point that detailed designs can actually chase people away from your show. Outside Awane, the director of Vinland Saga, a show with pretty intricate art, said that a lot of animators tend to keep away from such designs, and it's gradually been difficult to find people who are willing to work with them. Now, anyone with an iota of knowledge about the animation industry can probably put the dots together. Animators' pay in most cases is commission-based, so your income is directly affected by how fast you can draw. And if you're an in-between animator, out of the gate you're earning below Japan's minimum wage, so cool, you can buy a large double quarter pounder meal after a full day's work. Deadlines are also tighter than ever, your co-workers are falling asleep at their desk or being hospitalized because of overwork. So yeah, you might be a bit hesitant to accept work for a show where you have to draw the overly detailed shiny anime character 100 times. Of course, there are many other problems in relation to the shortage. However, my point is that when you have animation-friendly designs, it can actually draw talent to your project. It's no coincidence you had so many great animators all pouring into Dragon Ball Super Broly. Yes, there were other factors. A big one was the connections the director Nagamine had. But the designs also played an important part and will continue to going forward. So yeah, while the crazy nostalgia part of my brain is like, Kubota, Buu arc style back, yeah, let's go with that. I think if you want a show that moves past the very limited and linear action, character flies straight, explosion, detailed face with only the mouth moving, then repeat and repeat, or the same old hand-to-hand combat, to present Dragon Ball's action in a fresh way, not to stick to the same old format like we currently see in Dragon Ball Heroes under Yamamuro, to have as fans say, the animation Dragon Ball deserves. And having good animation-friendly designs isn't the only, that's for sure, but is a major step to getting that, and Shintani ticks that box. Now for what I would like, and I guess one thing that hasn't changed, I would love to see the rough line work and hatching, which you particularly saw in the work of Hisashi Eguchi, Masaki Satoru, KATSUMI AOSHIMA, mainly in arcs like the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai and the Saiyan arc, to return. But in a more prominent way like Hamada's designs for Mob Psycho, where it's just like everywhere. Like, man, I'd be sitting high on the hog if we got anything close to that. There is something about that hatching and sketchy line work that just brought such intensity to those moments, and ferocity to the expressions that a clean look just doesn't capture. And the same goes for Dragon Ball, like compare Piccolo's sacrifice in episode 27 and 28 visually, day and night. Even in terms of just line work, there's Fully Coolly Progressive, which, fun fact, Kubota did the character designs for. See, this isn't a tangent, it's all connected. But for episode 5 of that series, the director Kei Suzawa slapped together his own thing, took Kubota's sheets, simplified them a little, and added a rough, chalky line effect to the art. A complete 180 on the very clean look to the designs. It's the one episode that actually felt like a Fully Coolly episode on the visual side. Toshiyuki Sato is also another animator that leans to that brushwork aesthetic, so yeah, I'll chuck him in. But yeah, I think such a look would work well for the series. It's definitely not an unfamiliar look to Dragon Ball. It would give an old school flavor, but at the same time being something a little fresh. And it's a stylistic choice that suits really well for fights. Now, while line work is fine, I'm fully aware that hatching isn't exactly an animation friendly thing, but if it was used somewhat like in Super Broly where the character art got more detailed for the fights, you know, sort of like reserved for important moments or perhaps in a flashback during a backstory, like for the Ox King where everything was drawn in red sketchy lines, or for Garlics in Z Movie 1 who was covered in thick brushstrokes and everything else. Moments simply that don't require particularly much animation, I think it can work without being a burden. But yeah, those were the main points. Overall, on return, Shintani, or at least designs that follow in the spirit of his, would be the best. And it doesn't mean that detailed art is gone for good. There's a difference between having a simple base design with the option to add detail, then starting off with designs that are packed with it from the get-go, that everyone must work with. For example, with Shintani's designs, if an animator or animation director wants to add the classic cheek shading, they can do that. If they want to go with the curve type like in GT and Super, or even add highlights, same thing, many already did that in Broly. Guys like Kubota, Shida and Takahashi really went all in with the detail, while others stuck to looser character art. In the Annecy special, or Annecy, whatever you call it, you again can see a fair bit of detailed shading for the close-ups. And even if Kubota isn't a character designer, it's almost guaranteed he'll work on something Dragon Ball related, as either a chief or regular animation director. And if his promo art for season 3 of One Punch Man is anything to go by, I think that Buu arc anatomy is well and truly ingrained into his brain. I really wouldn't be surprised to see him break away from the model sheets. He's done it before on Broly, so yeah, that'll be interesting. But with that, thank you for watching. Shout out to my patrons. Please support me on there. And with that, again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.